Yes, people.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
What's happening? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. Genuinely do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News After Dark. It's sensual, intimate time with Yannick. Chelsea News. Today we're discussing, we're referencing the end of a long read from Ben Jacobs on Give Me Sport. He's spoken about, it's a really good article, it's a long article. It spoke about how we got here with Maresca. I won't speak about that because we've done it to death. But transfer targets, outgoings, of course, is very, very relevant. More on Julian Alvarez. PSG also interested in him. Christopher Nkunku wanted by other clubs. Yeah. And a bit of a sentimental statement from Maurizio Sarri as well. So lots to get into today, as always, forever. Many videos being published on this channel, a couple a day at the moment, at least. So keep up with it, you watching. Thank you for liking the video. If you're yet to subscribe, I recommend you do so. Hit the bell if you choose to do so. And yeah, man, let's go. Alright, let's start off with Sarri, because it's not actual Chelsea news, but I want to talk about it. He's been quoted about leaving Chelsea. He said this: leaving Chelsea has been my biggest mistake. There was a good basis to stay there and continue at the club. I did a big mistake in that moment. We of course won the Europa League. The project was great, but I wanted to return in Italy, unfortunately. And it's important to note this, right? Because I was on the YouTube back then, and Sarri leaving Chelsea. We didn't sack Maurizio Sarri. He wanted to leave. He had an opportunity to return to Italy to manage Juventus, which of course at the time, back then, they were still like the PSG of Italy. They were like relentlessly winning every single game. And of course he won the title after Allegri then. And then after that, like, they dropped off after that. So he was sort of, in his title, they didn't like him over there at Juve, and he only lasted one season. But he still won the league in what was a depreciating Juventus side. He wanted to leave. He knew Hazard was going. Hazard carried Chelsea that season. He finished third. It was his best ever season. He was putting a masterclass in the final in Baku against Arsenal, which we are going to be forever grateful for. Yeah, Sarri never really sort of truly integrated. He never tried to connect with the fans and stuff like that. But he was good. You know, he was a good coach. He, of course, went for dinner with Guardiola and Saka and stuff like that. He was like, yeah, he was a bit of a sort of like hipster for a while, wasn't he? And it had an interesting story, the smoking banker. But still, we move, it's history, and it's just interesting to hear him say, I think he said this before, but he's referenced it again, like, publicly, like, this was my biggest mistake. Interesting to hear. And I've got a lot of respect for people who can come out and talk about stuff like that, their mistakes, and how they feel retrospectively. It's cathartic, therapeutic. So, tutto bene, Maurizio Sarri. Right, reports coming out from all around Europe, this being reported by Sky Sports Deutschland? Germany. I sound a bit Dutch when I said that. Deutsch. Christopher Nkunku has attracted interest and inquiries from other clubs. I wonder if clubs are looking at him like, well, he hasn't really played, he had injured. Nkunku's an amazing player still. You know, can we get him? Sort of thing. But Nkunku wants to stay and establish himself as a key player at Chelsea. Good. I think Nkunku's amazing. I still reference him and have been referencing him as our, like, elite attacker, high-profile elite attacker, like, you know, more than the others, including Palmer. Like, Nkunku's sick, bro. Like, Nkunku is an elite finisher in Europe. I keep saying about it. He's really fast, he's really direct, he's really intelligent. Look at the goals that he scored for Chelsea. I think he scored, 3 Premier League goals and 3 starts or something like that. All very different, all elite finishes. He doesn't look phased whatsoever about playing in the Premier League. Timo Werner was such a Bundesliga player, transitional, scored loads of goals on the break for Leipzig. People were worried that it would be the same for Nkunku, but it's not. Nkunku is just so technically gifted. He's an amazing finisher, much more clinical than Timo Werner. Wants to play a little bit more centrally and narrowly than Timo does, but yeah, he's an incredible player, Nkunku, and he's senior as well. Like, how old is he? 27-ish now. We need that. And yes, I'm so pleased. I'm intrigued, maybe not that surprised to hear that there's interest for him, trying to be opportunists for what is an elite European player that may be thinking his stock's dropped a bit because he hasn't played for a season, really. But no, we need to keep him. He's incredible, and I'm pleased to hear he wants to stay and fight for Chelsea. Look, we saw the blue balloon at the end of the season. The vibes are there. We're feeling good. And Nkunku stays at Chelsea. Bang. Alright, so like I said, we're going to reference Give Me Sport, the latter segment of Ben Jacobs' article talking about the transfers. But I do, go check it out, man, because he's literally mapped out everything, like the meeting in Marbella with the sporting directors, Maresca, the style of play of Enzo Maresca, which of course has interested a lot of people, but we've kind of done it here on the channel before, so I'm going to leave that. But we're going to get to his transfer targets in just a moment, and the outgoings, probably stuff that we already know, but want to hear it from him, and perhaps new stuff as well. And also, we'll end on Julian Alvarez from an article on the Mail from Spencer Morgan. So let's hop into the Ben Jacobs Give Me Sport segment now. Given Maresca inherits a supremely talented squad with pre-existing selection dilemmas, new additions will only complicate things further. But it's a welcome headache to have. Maresca won't have any recruitment autonomy or veto, so his role in the leadership team will be similar to that of Pochettino in terms of power. He speaks and writes well, Jacobs. The Italian will still be a vital voice in a collaborative recruitment strategy led, of course, by Winstanley and Stewart, but ultimately signed off by Eghbali. That's a potent line, because not Bowley, just Eghbali. I mean, we've all sort of speculated as time's gone by, that as time's gone on, that Eghbali's like the big boy, and like the Abramovich almost. The important point to note is that freedom to challenge is essential, regardless of titles or hierarchy. So if you really feel strongly about something, you can voice that. It's a big summer for Chelsea because it's the last in a 4-window plan that long predates Maresca, along with Adarabai's arrival, Tosin. Adding another centre-back is still possible, especially if Trevoh Chalobah departs. Finding a young left-back capable of excelling in the inverted role is also a priority. Interesting to hear it's a priority. Chelsea don't feel they necessarily need a starter right away, given Cucurella's form. Of course, he's been confirmed also Cucurella for the Spain squad for the Euros, the final squad. So congratulations to him. And with Ben Chilwell fit again. I love Ben Chilwell as a player, as this sort of dynamic, conventional left back, but I do have concerns for him playing this particular inverted role. Plus, Colwill can be used as cover. True. Milos Kerez is a name already discussed, but Bournemouth would fight to keep the Hungarian, and they value their 20-year-old, their talented 20-year-old, at £35 million. Here's where I become clean to you guys, the viewers, and I have no effing idea who Milos Kerez is. And to be honest, a little bit embarrassed, because he's a Premier League player. Like, if this was a guy from the Hungarian League or the Championship, or, I feel like I should know who Bournemouth's left back is, but I don't. And it's a guy called Milos Kerez. Milos? And a player that's a Premier League player that's valued at 35 million quid. I feel like I should know. Anyway, interesting. We've also looked to Ligue 1 to look like, the kind of Malo Gusto profile player. In terms of value and age profile, I'd probably be more inclined to do that. You'd get it for nearly half price than that. Okay, so also a new winger is on the cards with Crystal Palace's Michael Olise, and Leeds's Crescencio Somerville, both potential options. Of course, if Chelsea fans were asked, who would you prefer? It would be Michael Olise every day of the week. Of course, Athletics' Nico Williams is also appreciated, but a deal is unlikely due to his 150k a week wage demand. I think Chelsea are prepared to pay 150k a week to certain players. Of course, we're paying, I think that to Enzo Fernandez and 180k to Caicedo. Lots and lots of money. Not that much in terms of Chelsea historically, or at least in the last 20 plus years. But I get it. I get it. Nico Williams is still a young player, 150k. It sets a bad precedent for the other young players at Chelsea as well. So, you bring in a Julian Alvarez, maybe, because he's a World Cup winner and a treble winner, even though he's only 24, other players would probably be like, yeah, all right. Do you know what I mean? They won't get the arse if he's on more money, because he's got like slam. He just puts his like World Cup medal on the table. Like Enzo, to be fair, but you know what I mean. Chelsea view signing another traditional striker as essential to help them compete with and complement Jackson. Interesting, so could potentially play together. They have no plans to move for, of course, Osimhen from Napoli. We've spoken about that. Due to the overall outlay required, of course, that represents both wages and a massive transfer fee to Napoli. But Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko, Aston Villa's John Duran, and Brighton's Evan Ferguson, all of whom command lower wages than Osimhen, remain possibilities. A surprise move from Manchester City forward Julian Alvarez cannot be ruled out either. He's seen the way the wind is blowing and heard that. Look, we'll talk about Alvarez in a moment, but out of Duran, Ferguson, and Sesko, I mean, the bottom, I rate Ferguson. Then maybe John Duran, who's a good player, by the way, young player. And I guess maybe Benjamin Sesko would be the top of that trio. He's a good conventional centre forward that's trending in a positive direction. And unlike Alvarez, he's so dominant in the air. Yeah, like I said, I've watched a few of his those videos of him heading balls. He's just got great hang time, and that's very exciting. Duran is emerging as a realist. Hold on, I think someone's at my door. One moment, pausing. Never mind, I'm hearing things. Let's move on. Duran is emerging as a realistic target and is also spoken of in January, of course. Chelsea are serious about Sesko too, but face strong competition from Arsenal, United, and PSG. Also like the Slovenian striker who scored 18 goals last season and has a lucrative extension on the table from Leipzig, of course, to stay, which would probably remove his current buyout clause, you'd have to assume. Staying put shouldn't be discounted at this stage, even though Sesko has a £55 million release clause. Leipzig do that, don't they? We got Timo Werner for 47 million, and he was like, Real Madrid are considering him. Bayern, of course, came back in for him after originally coming in for the year before, but he didn't like how Bayern treated him, apparently, so he wanted to go to Chelsea. But, that 47 million for Werner after the amount of goals he scored at the time was a good deal. And he was a useful player for many reasons, but we didn't get the goals that we bought him for. Similarly, I believe Nkunku was under 50 million as well. Christopher Nkunku, when fit, he was starting for France in form, of course, PSG, then Leipzig. Good deals. They put in really positive buyout clauses. And of course, there's inflation, so that sort of 47 becomes 55, after a couple of years. But, maybe that's a good deal. So let's talk about outgoings. Remember, we're going to circle back and talk about Alvarez at the end, so keep it locked. Yes, it's understood that Maresca, much like Pochettino, would prefer a core senior squad of 25 players or under. That means outgoings are helpful, not just for financial reasons, but also to keep up free space. Dortmund are preparing a bid for Ian Maatsen close to £25 million. Chelsea want the full £35 million buyout clause paid. The beaten Champions League finalists are nonetheless optimistic a deal can be reached. I still think they'll agree on shaking 30 million, personally. Romelu Lukaku has a £38 million release clause and is drawing concrete interest from Napoli. Of course, his daddy is at Napoli. Antonio Conte has been announced as the Napoli manager. They'll look to make loads of money by selling Osimhen and getting, Conte's dream striker, Lukaku, in. That would probably be the most ideal of whether Napoli can pay his wages. I'm not entirely sure. Chelsea would gladly sell him to Saudi instead, having accepted a €45 million offer from Al Hilal last summer, only to find the Belgian striker wanted to stay in Italy. A year on, and Lukaku appears more open to the news. We've already referenced this. He's been quoted basically bigging up Saudi Arabia, which sounds like he's prepping himself for a move. Personally, Brugge is up for sale as well. There's interest from Wolves, Palace, Everton, Bologna, Champions League Bologna, Milan, Champions League Milan, and Monaco, Champions League Monaco. Brugge would give serious consideration to Saudi as well. although no offers materialised today. That's really interesting. He's like 22 years old. He wants to go to Saudi. He just wants the bag already. I mean, fair play. Whatever. Chelsea crave a £35 million fee, but suitors are looking closer to £20 million. Bearing in mind, we wanted 50 a year ago. Maybe even 6 months ago. I reckon the deal can be done for 25. If Breuer shines for Albania in the Euros in the coming days, weeks, his value will go up. But he won't be returning to Fulham, who paid the £4 million loan fee. Of course, Chalobah will be sold, or could be sold rather. Chelsea are seeking £25 million, a reasonable ballpark considering his good form at the end of the season. United have looked at Trevoh Chalobah. Bayern Munich had discussed him, of course, when Tuchel was the manager. They might still be interested. He did reject Nottingham Forest last summer when Chelsea accepted the bid, I believe, for Nottingham Forest for him to go there, but he just probably thinking, nah, I've been playing for Chelsea, been playing in Europe, I don't want to go to Forest. Fair play to him. Villa have already made a formative approach for Conor Gallagher. He could go to Villa Park. We know Spurs like him as well, and apparently Atletico Madrid appreciate Conor Gallagher, but they can't offer anywhere near to close to Chelsea's valuation. That perhaps Premier League clubs can. Villa and Spurs will have more money to spend. Both playing in Europe, of course, and generating more revenue. He does seem Conor Gallagher does seem like a proper Atletico Madrid player, I must say. And I mean that in the most positive ways, not like a derogatory sense. Amari Hutchinson is another Chelsea player. Chelsea going to try and get £25 million for Hutchinson. Of course, Ipswich would like to sign him permanently after we had a loan there last campaign. We also know that Stuttgart is looking at him, which of course finished second. They finished second in the German league, and they are a Champions League club now. So very interesting. Very interesting with Hutchinson. With the 4 or 5 faces anticipated a flurry of outgoings, Maresca will need to settle the dressing room. The importance of Caballero in helping in regard should not be underestimated. Of course, ex-Chelsea goalkeeper. Yes, and I remind you, we are about to talk about Alvarez, but to be honest, we'll jump over now because this is a great article that goes on, but there's loads and loads more written. There's about his targets next season, which we could go into, but Chelsea believe they can challenge, which sounds crazy to me. Alright, so Alvarez, huge talking point at the moment. The Mail have written, Spencer Morgans writes this: Man City forward Julian Alvarez is reportedly wanted by a number of top European clubs this summer. Of course, Alvarez joined City for £14 million in 2022. He scored 36 goals in 2 seasons at the Etihad. Bearing in mind, he's always been second choice to Haaland in that time as well. They bought him the same window. 14 million, 1-4. The 24-year-old has also won the World Cup with Argentina during that time, and it would take a bid, here it is, for at least 70 million to consider a sale. So £70 million for Alvarez, £55 million for Seshko. So Alvarez would cost £15 million more, but he's obviously won a lot more. He's got 2 years Premier League experience, and he's a very different profile of striker that might suit us more than Seshko. Both Chelsea and PSG are interested in Alvarez, who is believed to be keen on playing more regularly as a central striker. Again, often he plays out of position to get him on the pitch, but also mainly to accommodate Erling Haaland. So Atletico Madrid have also had their eyes on the player, but they're more interested on a loan, which does not appeal to City. We know City don't like loans with the whole Cole Palmer story. The report adds that it's unlikely at this time that any of 3 clubs will meet the £70 million this summer. Interesting. Alvarez has picked up numerous medals already at the Etihad, winning the Premier League in both campaigns and the Champions League, of course. He's also won the FA Cup, the UEFA Super Cup, the Club World Cup, and of course, the World Cup. Woo! Not bad, Julian. Interesting. I think it's important to reiterate that we've got Tosin at the back. We've got big height, for set pieces, defending and attacking. The Maresca style football is very much possession. I think we'll see the ball on the deck a lot. And with that, I feel the small diminutive forwards would suit us well, personally. You know, and maybe if Jackson works a little bit more on his headers, he scored a couple of good ones, we can still have that option because he's slightly taller. I like Julian Alvarez, I really do. I used to like look at him and how he plays and be like, how is this your second choice striker? And look, credit to Man City for picking him up for £14 million. I mean, it's incredible, really, because I didn't think he'd be able to just play Premier League football straight away, but he did, and he was good. And yeah, he's a good player. Look, if we can get him for, you know, I mean, to be honest, if you said to me last season how much would it cost to get Julian Alvarez, I'd say 70 million. Maybe if he pushes for a move, look, we know that, I said it in the recent video, Sterling, Zinchenko, Gabriel Jesus, as soon as they say, all in their prime, as soon as they say, I don't really fancy this, Man City go fine, will say, yeah, no issues. So I wonder if that will be the same with Julian Alvarez. I'd be really keen on him personally. I actually got quite excited about him in the same way I was buzzing about Cole Palmer. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. But as always, put out to you guys. So leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for liking and subscribing and hitting that bell. Keep it locked, guys. There's so many videos popping off, so don't miss a beat. Stick with Football Therapy, and I'll see you back here soon. Peace.